Okay. All right, great. So we want to deal with somewhat of a challenging topic. We're going to do it with God's help this week and next week. We want to talk about the concept of truth and the opposite of truth. And what you find in Jewish law and halakha is that, hi Elaine, how are you? Is that good? It's not black and white at all, in the sense that you have to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so to speak. It's not that at all. In fact, it's very different than that. The halakha is complex on this issue for good reason. And what we're going to do, I believe, within these 2 weeks is really develop a really good understanding of the halakha's position on truth and the absence of truth, or the opposite of truth. What we'll find is that there are times when it's not only okay to lie, but it's an obligation, a halachic Torah obligation to lie, which is kind of hard to say in one sentence, but it's true. So let's begin. We're gonna dedicate tonight's learning for the Refuah Shlema, the full and complete recovery of Rachel Sarah Bat Yumina, and of Yitzchak ben Nun Hana, one young lady and one little boy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should watch them, protect them, and make them absolutely healthy and perfect quickly. B'ezrat Hashem, and in the spirit of our learning and all the mitzvot that come from it, with God's help. Hi, Serene, how are you?
You saw Serene's brother. I'm happy to be here.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, good.
My brother was in Florida.
Yeah, we saw your brother. We saw your brother.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
we did some learning together the first Shabbat.
That's great.
It's very nice. I'll tell you all a quick story. So I give this halakha class a couple mornings a week with 4 or 5 guys. And this past week, of course, everybody was traveling. So it was the first Friday of vacation. So we were in Puerto Rico. Michael Sabag was in Colorado. Zeke Abraham was in, I'm not going to tell you where Zeke was. I was in Puerto Rico. Michael was in Colorado. Sonny Braha was in New York still. And my nephew, Jacob Cohen, was in Florida. So we were in 4 different places. And so we got on to learn. And then Zeke Abraham got on. And where was Zeke? He was on an airplane. Wow. And we learned together in 4 different parts of the world, plus an airplane, for an hour and 10 minutes. How absolutely awesome. It was great. We were we were so pumped. When we asked Zeke, where are you dialing in from? He said 48,000 feet. That was the ultimate. So we were saying what a remarkable time it is to be alive, thank God, to be able to do this. It's just, it was very exciting. It's really, so all good things always. Okay, so in terms of emet v'sheker, before we get into the definitions of truth and the opposite, let's look at the big picture. So the big picture, according to Chazal, is as follows. We say that the chotem, the engraving, the stamp of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's emet is truth, but there's something bigger, in quotation marks, than that. I'm using that word loosely. And what is that? That's shalom and shlemut. So when we look at how to speak and what to speak and to whom to say what, we're not bound by truth and the opposite of truth. Truth and the opposite of truth is a tool. It's a vehicle. But it's a vehicle to do what? To build a better world and happier, more complete people. So if the goal is to build a better world and happier and more complete people, and my primary responsibility is to build a better world and or happier and more complete people, then truth or the opposite is a tool to make that happen. So I want to be very clear on this. Truth or lies are not the ultimate and are not the goal. Truth or lies are a tool to build the ultimate, to build a goal. Okay? Once I step off that edge, hey, Erwin, we got you early.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
Right.
How are you?
All right.
Let's-
We got-
I miss being Jewish with you.
I miss laughing with you. How's that? So let's start with that premise. A, my responsibility, each of our responsibilities is to build the world, right? Good, big term, right? Doesn't mean a lot, but let's break it down.
Right.
How do I build the world? By building individual people. That's my goal here, to build people, livnot anashim. So if my goal is to build people, to build particularly my people, right, in particular, but people in general, and thereby to bring people closer to God, to bring people closer to themselves, to bring people closer to happiness, that's the goal, that's the koteret, that's the headline, then truth and the opposite of truth are a tool to make that happen. They're not the absolute. You with me? So in Western culture, whether it's kept more so or not, we put truth in a different place. We put truth as the ultimate goal, but it's not. Truth or the absence of it is a tool. It's a methodology. Okay, you with me? So let's debunk truth and lies. Start with debunking them, with bringing them down to the level that they're truly on. And then we're going to build them and re-elevate them. So our rabbis say that what we want is shlemut. We want completion. We want to make people complete. We want to fix what's broken in them. We want to aid them to be happy. We want to aid them to love each other. We want to aid them to take risks and be successful. We want to aid them to grow, right? All the core things that we want to do, right? So if that's true, then truth or lies become a very powerful tool in that goal. Okay?
Who's saying that that's the goal?
That's our goal from a Torah point of view. Our goal from a Torah point of view is not to tell the truth or to avoid telling a lie. To tell the truth or to avoid telling a lie is a tool, is a vehicle to get to the ultimate goal, which is to make the world better. And how do we make the world better? Primarily by building people and building ourselves.
Right.
Okay? So truth and the opposite are a tool to get there, ways to get there. Okay, great. Now, we have a very interesting halacha in Sefer Shemot, where it says, midvar sheker tirhak. It's the only time in terms of a lo ta'aseh, of a prohibitive law, where the Torah uses the term, it doesn't say don't say a lie, it says distance yourself from a lie, meaning it's even stronger. It says lo tachmod, don't covet, very clear. It doesn't say get yourself as far away as possible from coveting. That's much more stringent. So in this framing and positioning of truth and lies, we have to start with the mitzvah d'oraita, with the biblical imperative on this, which is the only time in the Torah of all the mitzvot lo ta'aseh, all the negative commandments, the only time ever in the entire Torah when it says not do it or don't do it, but get away from it, is with sheker, is with a lie. So the opening salvo, so to speak, is very strong. not only can a person not lie, but a person has to get very far away from a lie. And it's a mitzvah deoraita. It's a biblical commandment, not a rabbinic one. Fine. It's emphasized further by what we see in Masechet Shabbat, where it says, Chotamo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu emet. As we said, the chotem, the stamp of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is emet. Fine. Now we want to just look a little bit further. Let's look a little bit further on some of the great rabbis and see how they frame these two areas. And then we're going to get into some halachot, and I want to hear some of your thoughts, and I'm going to pose some situations for you. The Maharal Prague, in his Sefer Agadot, he writes Agadata, stories and parables on Masechet Yevamot, on one of the tractates in the Gemara, and he says, Ha'emet v'ashalom ahevo lo yidche ha'emet et hashalom. Where it says that emet, truth, and shalom, love each other, we can't push away one for the other. Lo yidche ha'emet et hashalom. The emet, absolute truth, Abe, absolute truth, can push away shalom. What does that mean to you? Forget absolute. You know what? Drop the word absolute. Drop it. Not fair. Emet, truth, can push away shalom. It says, it puts them on the same line. It says, wait a minute. Didn't you tell me emet is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's chotem, his stamp? Isn't that the way we recognize God, with emet, with truth? Yeah. But one second. The partner to truth is peace. They didn't say you have to make peace bring truth. They didn't say peace is almost as good as truth. They said that they're on a parallel line. The Maharal says, Lo yidche, hi Cynthia, how are you? Lo yidche ha'emet et hashalom. Don't think that truth can push aside peace. Okay, hold that. Let's take it a little bit further. He goes further than Maharal, and he says that Shalemut is a function of Shalom. Meaning, he says like this. He says, okay, we're talking about when do you lie, when don't you lie, can you lie, this or that, fine. He says, but remember something, Shalom, peace, completes reality. So, if I'm going to say God is the ultimate, and I'm going to say God is defined by truth, by emet, what the Maharal is doing is he's saying right up there with God, so to speak, and truth is peace. So, if we go back to where we started, that the primary focus, responsibility of the human being is to build the world, is to build mitziut, to build reality by building people, by giving to people, by helping people grow, by growing himself, yeah? And through that, connecting to God, right? Now we're saying that in order to connect to God and build people, we have another core criteria, and that is shalom, and that is peace. So what did we do? We took emet, and we took shalom, truth, and peace, and we put them on the same level. Now, Erwin, what does that do for me if I'm in the context of telling the truth or telling the lie?
You want to keep peace, so.
You're right. Your game plan is to keep the peace. Correct?
Excellent. You and Jamie said the same thing. If my game plan.
Oh, okay. No,
is to
so
keep the peace-
Rick, I want to tell you something. I heard that when Hurdle
Can't hear you.
passed away, Rabbi Avi Harari spoke about how Hurdle taught him. No?
Taught him what? You're in and out, Erwin, sorry.
You hear me now? Any better?
Yeah,
So Avi Harari spoke. Rabbi Avi said that Hurdle taught him how to speak and a lot. And what Hurdle told them is that when you get into a confrontation, don't always try to be right. Hurdle told them, let the person feel that they're right,
Good.
and you could be wrong because you want to make peace. So that's what I was just bringing to the
Perfect,
table.
beautiful. Right on target. Let's talk about that in very specific terms.
Wait, hold
Okay.
on. Why does the Torah only pick out this thing to distance yourself versus not to do it? You said that earlier. What's the reason for that?
Say that again, Abe. Say that
You
again.
said earlier that when the Torah says not to lie, it says to distance yourself. But
Excellent.
why is this the only? Is it because you won't be able to pair up shalom with it?
No, it's because, and we're going to talk about it further. It's because it truly does ruin the human being.
It breaks down character.
It will ruin a human being. It will more than break down character. It will ruin a human being. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Yeah.
Okay,
But
okay.
hold
fine.
it. Hold your point. But hold your point. Good. We're going
Okay.
to come back to that. Now, the Ben Ish Chai comes along. The Ben Ish Chai was a great Kabbalist. His view of halakha greatly influenced Judaism in general and our community in particular. God bless you. He says, listen to his words. He writes on last week's parashat Mishpatim. He writes, "Yizdamen nefamim כמו שצריך להתרחק מן השקר וכזב, כן צריך שיתרחק מן האמת." What does he say? He says, times will come, things will come up where you have to run away from sheker, from lies, but situations will come up when you have to run away from the truth. What? Yeah. Times will come up when you have to be mitrachek from the truth. And he goes further in saying that there are times when it's a chovah, when it's an absolute obligation to tell a lie for the purpose of peace. It's not that it's okay to tell the lie. I want to be clear on this. You're
Ricky,
obligated
could you
to
give an
tell the lie.
example?
What, David?
Could you give an example? Like,
We're going to. Yeah, great. We're going to in a couple of minutes. Good. Going to. But I want to go one step further. So listen what he says. You would say that, to Abi's point, midvar sheker tidhak, meaning that this was a very extreme position we took on lying, which means stay very far away from it. And we're going to talk that out in a little while. Okay? But we went ahead and we put emet on the top line, and we moved shalom up to the same top line.
Right.
We said they are on the same level. Now, the Ben Ish Chai goes ahead and he says, and he's basing it on Parashat Mishpatim. What did we read last week, Parashat Mishpatim? Tens and tens of laws on torts and damages and how to treat people and losing things and finding things and injuring another and so on. What does he say? That the same way that sometimes you have to distance yourself from sheker, from a lie, there are also times when you have to distance yourself from the truth. And he continues and says it's a chovah, an obligation at times to tell a lie. And then he goes ahead and says, one second. Now I want to give you the pecking order. He says it could be a mitzvah to do something, right? It could be an obligation to do something. You could say that, you know what, there's no obligation to tell the truth, let's say. And the Torah is gonna allow you, matir, to allow you to tell a lie. And then, though, the rabbis go further and say that it's not only okay sometimes to tell a lie, it is a mitzvah to tell
Right.
a lie.
Like
It's a
what?
mitzvah to tell a lie.
I don't understand.
All right. Huh?
Example.
We're gonna give you examples. In a couple of minutes. We're gonna give you examples.
Sarah, but you got a problem, Ricky. Sarah doesn't lie. So what should she do?
I don't.
Mm.
I really don't. I promise. I don't.
Peace, peace.
Binatan brings in Masechet Yevamot that it's a mitzvah, at times a mitzvah to tell a lie. A mitzvah to tell a lie. Again, go back to the Ben Ish Chai. The same way that sometimes you have to run away from a lie, sometimes you
Right.
have to run away from the truth. Who agrees with Binatan? The Chafetz Chaim,
Right.
and the Rosh and the Rif. So
That's
three
enough
of the
for me.
greatest
That's enough for me.
science in Judaism. Right. Okay.
But Ricky, let's clarify. This is only for the sake of shalom.
One second.
That's right.
I'm saying step by step.
Oh.
Wait, let's see. Right now, you're right. We're only talking about shalom, but let's go step by step.
Okay.
Now, there is a caveat here and one absolute disqualifier, and that is as follows. If someone is a liar by nature,
Okay.
then he is not allowed to engage in this, or
What?
she. Very good. Good.
Okay.
Cynthia,
Oh,
listen.
I like that.
If someone has a lying nature,
Mhm.
right? Someone has a lying nature, then they can't step into this
He's out.
compromised
They're out.
position to lie for the sake of shalom.
Shalom. That makes
It's
sense.
not genuine. It's not genuine anyway, so it's not going to do the job.
Right, Serene, but what else is the problem here? Why do we not want the habitual liar to be doing this?
You
Because
wanna
you're never
stay
really
away-
going to, their intentions always are going to change. You're not going to really
Yeah.
know what they're thinking.
Yeah, and we don't want it, he's an habitual liar. So we can't have a habitual liar in this game because he's like an alcoholic in this respect.
So
We
is
can't
that-
give him a drink, right? Because he can't manage it. So if someone is a habitual liar, right? He can't take this liberty. He can't engage in
He's
this.
already in the liberty.
Huh?
He's already in the liberty.
He's
He
in
does
it, but
all the time.
halakhically, he can't qualify. You're right, Cynthia.
Has no
but-
value, no value.
Exactly. And according to halakha, he can't qualify for this.
Is that who they want you to stay away from? The
That
habitual liar?
that person has to be stayed away from under any circumstances, right? And that person has to be challenged and has to be rebuked under
Oh,
any
they do?
circumstance.
They have to be challenged?
They have to be challenged and they have to be rebuked. And they cannot take this level of interpersonal possibility to help build the world by ignoring the truth or changing the truth because they're habitually not well.
They get no
they-
credit,
Huh?
no credit. They get
They-
no
they have
credit
no
because
credit?
that's their natural.
That's right. And you can't feed the addiction. Good? All right? So, good. So let's talk about a few cases. Let's say we have a case of a basic case. One other thing I want to just bring up that if someone is speaking lashon hara and someone says a lie in the same sentence, right? Someone speaking lashon hara, right, or hilud, gossip, or saying, about someone, and lies at the same time in the same sentence. Is he violating one mitzvah or two?
Too.
Two.
Two. Beautiful. He's violating two mitzvot. Excellent. Very good. Now, one other core element in terms of the halacha side of this thing, when the classic case of a sheker, of a lie, from the perspective of the Torah, the biblical lie, is when the lie will cause monetary or other damage to another person. But listen carefully. Good, Cynthia, good. Stay with this. Perfect. if the lie will not cause damage, a nezek to the other person, it's not, according to most rabbis, not all, according to most, it's not considered a biblical lie. It's considered a rabbinic lie, meaning that a lie in its truest sense, is something that's done to cause financial or other damage to another person. Meaning, if somebody walks around telling silly stories that are not true, that person is a liar, but he's not the guy who's really being X'd out on the midvar sheker tirchak that the Torah is talking about. He's just a guy who needs help. Not that what he's doing is right, but a lie in its truest sense, in its harshest sense, is when its intent is to hurt someone, to cause them nezek, to cause them some type of damage. Yeah.
One of them is a sheltering lie. You're sheltering the damage of a situation by lying. And the other is a lie that does damages.
Which one is the one that damages? Which one?
The one that is meant to hurt people.
The one that is meant to hurt people, right? That's
The
the
other
one.
is not. The
Okay,
other is
good.
sheltering.
Okay, fine, good. So that's the point. That's the point.
The other one
Excellent.
is just Lashon Hara, and that's rabbinical. If
It's
not,
rabbinic. It's rabbinic, and sometimes Lashon Hara is not rabbinic. Sometimes it's not. And I wouldn't say it's Lashon Hara. We can talk about Lashon Hara at another time. I wouldn't say it's Lashon Hara. It is a lie that's not biblical. It's a lesser lie. Now, in today's day and age, we equate rabbinic and biblical together. But in terms of our understanding and learning, it's important to know what the classic hardcore biblical lie is defined by. And it's defined by something that will hurt another person, generally speaking, cause them damage, whether it's
Financial.
financial or other damage. Yeah.
Oh, all other.
Okay, financial or other damage. Good. Now, let's take the basic case, and this we know already. Michelle, you want to say something?
Yeah, Psalm number 85, line number 11. It's one of my favorite lines. Kindness and truth have met, righteousness and peace have kissed. Truth will sprout from the earth and righteousness will appear from heaven. Hashem too will provide what is good from our land and will yield its produce. Righteousness will walk before him, his footsteps on his way. So
What's
is
right?
this the concept of what you're speaking of today?
You tell me. What's
I
righteousness?
think it is.
Righteousness has nothing to do with this.
What about damages to reputation?
One second.
Yeah, really.
Let's speak directly to Rochelle's point in a second, then we'll take that point. Rochelle, I want you to be clear on this point.
Okay.
Righteousness is something altogether different. Righteousness is tzedakah or sidkut. Righteousness means that people do what they have the capacity to do. A righteous person it's not an issue of truth or otherwise. A righteous person understands what his or her capacity is and engages the world on that level. In other words, someone who's a doctor at the time of a plague has to act righteously to care for people. If a doctor at the time of a plague doesn't care for people, he's not a righteous person. That's what righteousness means. Yeah? You okay with that? So
No.
take a look at that pasuk again. Take a look at that verse again, when we're done or whenever, and just insert that understanding of it and think about it and let's talk more about what it means that way. All right? Because righteousness doesn't have to do with truth or falsity. It has to do with acknowledgement of self and responsibility to that. If someone can help, he or she has to help. If someone can teach, he or she has to teach. If someone can sing, and that will make people feel happier, she has to sing, he has to sing. That's what righteousness means. Good?
Rick, How does righteousness play a role in the lawyer model?
That's what I'm saying. I want you to look at it exclusively.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
lost.
Righteousness and truth or lies are two separate things,
Right.
right? We generally equate them together. They're not equatable. Okay, I want you to look at righteousness for what it is. Righteousness is responsibility of self, right? And truth or lies are a separate issue. Now, a righteous person could be a truthful person or not. Generally speaking, a righteous person is a truthful person, but it's not absolutely the same thing. Okay.
But Ricky, is righteousness connected to shalevut? It is, right? Because you have to see your ability to do good to make other people happy. So that it is
1000%.
connected?
1000%.
So
There's
that
no, yeah. So, yeah.
no, so I'm just saying, if you want to like track it back to lying, like maybe at some point you're gonna have to lie to do your job to be righteous.
That's very good. Exactly. How does that feel, Rochelle? That's exactly
I
right.
like it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right, but that's why I want you to
Yeah,
use
no,
the
that's
Hebrew
not what
term.
I'm discrepancing at all.
Okay.
That's not, but okay, go on.
Okay,
No,
but
I'm just
For me
saying,
to really
you're
think
saying it has
anyhow.
nothing to do with it, but I think it does. I think it does.
So do
I think
I.
righteousness
So I'm
does
just
have
gonna
to do
let
with,
them-
because at a certain point you're gonna have to, let's say you said you could sing. Maybe you could lie, you're gonna have to lie at some point and tell someone that you love singing, even if you don't, because you want to make someone happy and you want to do your job because you know you have the capability to sing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
so righteousness may bring you to lie.
Right.
Right.
That's my
So it is
point.
connected. It is connected. No, you said it wasn't
Connected.
connected.
No, but I'm saying, because I believe what Rochelle is saying is righteousness means truth. And
No,
righteousness.
I see what you're
Okay.
saying.
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so
No, I
please
just read
say
what
it again,
Jackie
because I
Green
wasn't
said.
clear.
Yeah. Okay, no, I just thought that it was a nice, never mind. Go on,
Michelle,
sorry.
you're saying it's harmless. It's a
No,
harmless.
I.
No, I just think this is absolute beauty. Literal magnificence. I just think it's just such a beautiful, and I think it has a lot to do with what Ricky is saying. But maybe I have to learn his point.
Well,
That's
do they
all.
mention lying? Do they mention lying
Not
What,
in
in
that.
this psalm?
No.
in righteousness? Do they mention lying? Because we're talking about lying.
No. But to Rochelle's point, this is one of the most powerful verses in the Psalms. It's true. It's one of the most powerful verses. I just want her to work the verse a little more rigorously with the interpretation of righteousness in the most strict way. And I think when she does that, she'll enjoy that verse even more. And to Serene's point, there are some times to be righteous that you have to lie. In order to be righteous, you do have to lie. So let's take the classic case. The classic case is Reuven and Shimon are fighting. This is a classic, obvious case. Reuven is very angry at Shimon. They're fighting, and the third person, Levi, or one of us, goes to the Reuven and he says, Shimon would really like to fix this, even though Shimon could care less and can't stand the guy. And he goes to the Reuven and he says, Shimon goes to Shimon, and says, the Reuven feels very badly about what happened and really wants to fix it. He's 100% lying.
Right.
And he may have to carry on the lie several times over in order to bring the Reuven and Shimon back together. That is 100% what he should be doing without any limitation.
Like
Those
it
are
should do.
white lies.
That's
Like it
not a
should do.
white lie.
Ricky,
It
it's
ain't
like
a
a
white
shidduch.
lie.
You tell the
Not a white lie?
girl that the boy wants her.
Huh?
It's not a white lie?
No.
That's what you consider a white lie.
I don't want
Lying.
you to, don't let yourself off the hook with that, Sarah. It's an out and out lie.
But it's a
Get
good
comfortable
lie.
with it. But
It's a
again,
good
But it has merit. It has merit.
if we go back to the first point,
Right, it
exactly.
has
The first
merit.
point was,
You gotta look long-term.
that's right. What is my job here? What is my job here? Lying and truth are a tool that a human being will wisely use to build the people around him and himself. If he uses it to hurt another person,
No.
it's an isur deoraita. It's a biblical prohibition. If he uses it to help another person,
Yes,
what, you know, we have the classic case, Kavana Abba Hasuda. We mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. You know, we never say anything not nice about a bride. We always
Right,
say
right,
nice things about a
right.
bride.
right.
We
Or a
always
groom.
say nice thing
Right.
about it.
Or
Why?
a groom.
Because the guy standing next to her fell in love with her, or is falling in love with her, and made a commitment to her. And who cares what we think? Well, what do you mean? Is she really pretty? Is she a nice person? Maybe not, but they're walking down the aisle.
What if
So-
they're not walking down the aisle? Do you have a responsibility to tell the truth?
Okay,
Yes,
well, let's talk
Yes.
about that. We may not
Yes.
get to that tonight, but we're going to talk about that.
you do. You do. I know
But let's
that.
go back to the top line.
That one I learned.
Everybody loves this.
Dangerous, dangerous.
I know, everybody loves that one. Let's go back to the top line. Top line, in terms of peace. So you guys give me some other examples about peace. Where for the greater good of peace would we out and out intentionally, deliberately, on an ongoing basis lie?
Oh, there's a
And by the
million
way,
things.
each time you do it, according to many of the rabbis, you're doing a mitzvah when you lie.
Of course.
Well,
Not
let
only
me
are you allowed to do it, you're doing a mitzvah, yeah?
Those are easy ones, though.
Like what?
Those are
Give me a
easy
few
ones.
examples. Huh? This is the
Okay, you're
easiest one.
saving face. The child, did you come home late last night? And you know that he came home late. You tell his mother, no, he was in early. I saw him
Right.
go in.
Good.
You're saving
That's
face.
right. That's right. Because you know that that was the right thing to do at that particular time. Where
Right.
in 2 weeks, if the kid came home after curfew, you might call him out because the circumstances may be different. But what do you mean? Didn't he come home after curfew both times? Yes. But in this case, the mom was able to hear it and it benefited their relationship. And in this case, she wasn't able to hear it and it would have harmed their relationship. Well, what do you mean? Don't we stand for absolute truth? No. We stand for building the relationship, in this case, to our example, between a mom and her son. That's what we
But
stand for.
really what you're saying is you could build a relationship on lies.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
don't
what-
get that far.
Why
I mean,
not?
that's really what it sounds like.
Why not?
Yeah, but not
Why not?
always.
Why not?
Well, they have to be lies that can help you.
Let me ask you something, Sarah. Let me ask you,
You're protecting
Um,
someone else.
is this going to be one of those questions that people don't want to talk about afterwards? I'm just thinking about
Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, Ricky.
some of them in the classes.
Go ahead, Ricky. We'll
Didn't
teach
go
you,
over that
Ricky,
well.
don't worry.
Let's say, wait, I lost my thought. Let's say someone is really very weak at something, right? Young man, very weak at something. And everybody's been telling him he's very weak and he's not going anywhere. And then you happen upon this person and you see him and you say, you know what? It's true. He is very weak at this. But you know what? With the right guidance, I can make him pretty good at it. Right? I can make him pretty good at it. Have any of us had cases like this? I'm
Yeah.
sure we've all had,
You
right?
encourage him.
Very good. But he stinks at it now, Sarah, right? He
Yeah.
really is poor at it, yeah? So, but I got to be able to look several steps up the road and say,
I get it.
I'm going to lie to him and outright and say, Joe, you've got a knack for this.
That's right.
While the thing is over here and he's going
Wow.
over there, right? You really have a knack for this. What do you
Right.
mean? Isn't that an out and out lie? Absolutely. How often should I do it? Every single minute that I can make
Oh,
him.
no, I hear you because I do that with my grandchildren. I pick out something
right.
in them and I say, oh, this is what you're gonna be. You're the perfect example, even though,
No, you're so good at it, you tell them.
but
Yeah.
that really goes under the line of encouraging.
And
Okay,
giving
Okay.
truth.
But it's
Part of
it.
still a lie.
You
It's
can call
part
it
of it.
encouraging. I'm going to call it lying, and I'm going to be more comfortable with it than you are. How's
Yeah.
that? Okay. I'm going to be
The
more. comfortable.
rabbis are behind him, don't get involved.
Yeah, what can we do? We can't do
That's
anything
right.
with that.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So in terms of, give me a few other examples when it's about interpersonal or building another human being. Because I think we're all in agreement on this one. Give me a few more.
There's a lot of times. There's a lot of times you protect somebody and you have to lie because you're protecting them and you know that they told a lie, but you have to protect them to save face for them and for the people that they're going to discourage and make trouble for.
Fantastic. So what does this mean, in fact? It means that, I'm always going to take a step back and I'm going to look at the situation 5, 6 steps, 10 steps, 5 years, whatever it is up the
Look how many
road.
I protected.
Right. And then I'm going to make my decision. And if I believe sincerely that my lie is going to help this person have a better life and be a happier person,
Right.
according to some rabbis, you're allowed to do it. According to some rabbis, you better do it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you don't
You're
have.
obligated to do it. There isn't, now, let's go one step further. Beautiful. Rochelle, you with me?
I think
see.
that's the key.
What?
I think that's the key, like of explaining what you're trying to get across.
Okay, good. So listen to this point. What if somebody says, okay, it's true what they learned in the class, but I'm going to be a Hasid, I'm going to be saintly, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm going to tell the truth no matter what. How do you want to look at that person?
Damages.
Right. How do we look at him? We have a term in Hebrew for that. It's called Hasid Shoteh. It's called a Hasid, a saintly ignoramus. Hasid Shoteh. And our rabbis say that person is a destroyer.
That's
One
right.
second. That person, he or she said,
Wow.
I'm not going to lie no matter what. The stamp of God is emet. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell the truth no matter what the circumstances. What does the Torah say about that guy?
Stupidity.
He is a destroyer.
Wow.
That's
That
right.
guy is a destroyer.
So
Because
Ricky, can I
sometimes,
ask you a question?
Hmm,
In other words, you're saying that if it benefits someone else, if you're working toward shalom for somebody, you could lie. You could make a story that will help bring a positive
Right.
end. Could you do
Right.
that for yourself?
you tell me. Fabulous question.
I would think not. I know
Of
you're gonna
course.
say you can. If somebody says, oh, did you do this or something like that? And you're embarrassed
man.
and you don't want to say it because it's not gonna come out so good, you might say, oh, no, I don't know who did it, or
Love it, Sarah. Love it.
That's it.
You're
Yeah, but
not,
that's
one
different.
second. You can lie. Why
wouldn't she fess up that if she did it?
No, she doesn't want to be embarrassed. You can lie, halachically okay to lie, so as not to embarrass yourself.
That makes sense.
Makes
I like that
sense,
one.
right?
wow.
happy.
But Ricky, you lose credibility. You end up losing credibility after a while.
Yeah, that's how
After
I
a
feel.
while.
In what way? Tell me, Serene, how would you lose credibility?
I'm saying because eventually people are going to realize that you're like a little bit of a fibber, and then they're going to
Well,
not
when was
take
it, when,
anything.
Don't do
how,
it a
how would
lot.
they realize? Give me the case when they would realize. How?
Like someone's going to ask Sarah something, and then they're going to realize she lied. Oh, she didn't pick that thing up from the store that she said she did. And then like after a while, even when you're lying to make peace with somebody else, I feel like just after a while, like you don't even know if you mean what you're saying anymore.
Yeah, I agree
You
with
know
that.
something, it could
Right.
be, if it's
I agree with that.
unrelegated.
Right.
Okay, if it's unrelegated, if it's unregulated, not regulated, then yes, I agree with you completely. We're talking about a thought-filled comment,
Harmful or harmless?
not a thoughtless comment, right?
People
A
are not
thoughtful-
that mindful. People are not as you
Yeah.
have to be very intelligent, very focused,
Right.
very big sadiq. You have to be like a
That's
right.
very special person to be able to pull this off correctly.
Good.
And I don't
Good.
think I'm there. I don't
That's
think
why
I'm
you're
there.
on the
Me
call,
neither.
all of you. You're on
No,
the
but I don't
class.
think I'm
But
there.
I don't
Like,
think it's difficult. I don't think
I
it's
do.
difficult.
I
Use a little
I don't-
psychology. Is it going to help somebody or not help
No, I'm
somebody?
saying I'll use it, but not in every single situation. When I say, oh, if I say this,
Right,
if I
No, you're not
don't, if I
supposed
say,
to.
Right,
not
right.
like I'll use it when I have to, like emergency. But I'm not going
Right.
to just lie just for the
Well,
sake of
that's how
lying.
it
Yeah, but
should
one
be.
second.
No, it's not
Not
for the
only-
sake of lying.
Yes.
Good.
Being
Hey,
like-
buddy,
Right,
what were you
but
saying?
Ricky,
If the
Rick.
point, if the ulterior
Rick.
motive is supposed to be to bring shalom, How does lying about yourself do that?
Okay, one second, beautiful, excellent. So
Right.
let's go in categories here. Let's go in categories. Category A, we said
Right.
emet and shalom. We upgraded
Right.
shalom to the level of emet. Emet and shalom are partners now. Ain't one bigger than the
Right.
other. Okay, that's a
Good.
very, very, very important life perspective. Shalom, peace, sits right up here with emet. Okay, leave that in a pristine place. Now, drop down 1 or 2 spots, and the halacha is that a person does not have to embarrass himself to tell the truth. A person does not have to embarrass himself to tell the truth. If a
Right.
person made a mistake, right?
Right.
If a person doesn't know an answer, if a person didn't think, he doesn't have to embarrass himself. Now, if someone becomes a habitual liar, okay, obviously it's a
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
Obviously that's a problem. We got it, right? Serene, but you should.
No, like
Ricky,
I'm just thinking of an example. Like when I tell my son, "Did you brush your teeth in the morning?" He's 10 years old, and he says, "Yeah." And I said, "Go brush your teeth," because I know he didn't brush his teeth, but he's
Right.
embarrassed to tell me that he didn't brush them. But if I'm not going to call him out on it, he's going to continue to lie,
Very
even though
good.
he's going
You're
to be
not
embarrassed.
allowed to not call children out on it. You're not allowed to lie in front of a child, and you're not allowed to not call a child out when he or she is
Can I
lying.
say something,
Comes,
Ricky?
one second, yes, absolutely, one second. When it comes to children, there ain't no wiggle room here. That's what's so interesting about what the rabbis teach. When it comes to now, grown children is a different conversation, right? Now I'm talking about something different. When I'm talking about a child who's developing his core habits and values, he should never, ever think that there's anything in the world that allows you to lie.
Oh,
That's
that's
the
a big thing.
halacha.
Okay,
big
good.
That's the halacha.
You know, Ricky,
Yeah.
Okay?
can I ask you, what,
Yeah.
when you're speaking and you're saying all these concepts, it would be very good, at least for somebody like me at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, to hear an example.
Okay.
Because,
Okay,
you know,
good.
you're talking so in words,
Okay.
and it's very
Good,
hard to,
excellent.
you know, there's so many different variances.
Okay, excellent. So let's give 3 examples. Let's give 3 examples for the 3 areas we just touched on. When 2 people are fighting, or 4 examples. When 2 people are fighting, I can go to person A and person B and lie outright to either of them about the intent of the other, which is completely untrue, to make up and end the fight. Nothing to talk about. Aaron Cohen, he
I
built
was going to
his
talk about Aharon.
eternity with that. By the way, Yosef Sadiq, right? The most righteous man in the Torah, right? He's the only one called Sadiq, the most righteous man in the Torah. He lies overtly to his brothers. He overtly lies to them. He calls them spies. He says he doesn't know who they are. He torments them. Why? Because if he didn't do that, we wouldn't be here.
He's
Our rabbis
tested.
credit Yosef the righteous, right? Yosef a Sadiq. If he didn't force his broken family to come to true terms about itself and its failures, there would never have been a Jewish people. And he's the person we call the righteous one. Why? Because it goes back to the point Rochelle and I were talking about before, because he understood his responsibility and he took it. That's why he was called Yosef the righteous, Yosef a Sadiq.
Sadiq.
He didn't lie
Right.
to his brothers outright, lie to them. And not for a minute, and not once. He takes Shimon, he throws him in prison. What are you doing? He puts the cup in the sack. He puts the money back in the sacks. Lie after lie after lie. Why? Because he knew he was committed to the process of forcing his brothers to confront themselves and their failure so that they could remove themselves from it and start to build a nation. Okay,
Right.
so that's example number 1. And we said, children, you never lie. Number 2. Okay.
So,
Now
so
let's,
just before you go on one second, because Aharon did that. And
Yep.
look how far he went to form an ego, because he wouldn't confront a situation and say, this is wrong, I want to keep peace. Look how far that went.
yeah, that's true. That's true. He was afraid to confront the people. He
Yeah.
was.
Wouldn't it
Yeah.
have been better if he stuck up and told the truth and said, this is wrong and built, people together.
You
to
know,
organize.
it's really hard to say. It's hard to say. It's a great question. It's hard to say because according to Moshe Rabbeinu, we have the impression that Aharon HaKohen did wrong, right? He calls him out on it. He says, what did you do? How did you let them do this? But is Aharon HaKohen ever punished for the Egel?
I don't think so.
No, he's
No.
not. So Moshe calls him out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't. It doesn't call him out. So did Aharon HaKohen make a mistake in terms of how he handled the people with the golden calf or not? It's a very exciting and interesting question, but it ain't black and white that he made a mistake.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
His
Moshe called it
intent
a
was
mistake.
kosher.
Huh?
His intent was kosher. He
His
didn't
intent was
do it in
I think
malice.
they would go ahead with it, maybe.
Okay. In
But-
any case,
right.
God doesn't punish him for it. So let's know that.
Ricky, I have a question. When we started, the lie was in line for a tool for shalom. But now we expanded the application to anything, like Serene was saying before. Do you use it as a tool to do anything you want?
No. So very good. Okay, very good. Let's qualify it. Like we're saying, like Rochelle was saying, I want to hear examples. Let's qualify. A, for peace, nothing to talk about, right? There's nothing to talk about. You keep going.
There
Now,
is something to talk about.
okay.
Let's say someone, let's say someone did something despicable,
Okay.
absolutely despicable, unforgivable.
Okay.
You're supposed to lie to make peace with a person who will not admit what they have done and the damage that they have infringed on others.
We're
to
not
make
talking about
peace.
it. It's a
And I
great
That's
point.
a whole
That's
different
another level,
question.
right? That's
One
not
second,
what you're going
Michelle.
with.
Great point. That's an excellent point. We have the obligation to rebuke and confront people for their wrongdoing. That's a deoraita, a biblical obligation. Good.
Okay, good.
We're
I like
talking
that.
about a situation where two people are in pain because of what's going on between them, right? And I can fix that with lying. The answer is lie. Now, if one of the people, to your question, is a really bad guy and did some very bad things, I have the same level of obligation to confront him so that he changes his behavior. But we're talking about two different things. They may have happened in the
things.
same situation, but we got two different things here.
Wait, Ricky, can I say something to that, to Rochelle? Can I say something? If that despicable person feels bad about what he did, and you feel that by forgiving him, you're not going to snitch on him, and you're doing it for the sake of him learning from it, then maybe that is okay.
Very good. That's very good.
No, that's a difficult, that's aiding and abetting.
It
Right.
depends. It depends. I think to Sarah's point, it depends. Because we have to be judicious, we have to be smart. You know, a judge, certainly a Jewish judge, will call one offender guilty who did X, and the person who did the same X, he'll say innocent. Well, what do you mean? They're both guilty. They did the same exact thing. Okay, but their circumstances were different. They're different people. They're at different stages of their lives.
He's on the
That's right.
tape.
A judge is not a judge is someone who has to hear the case. He has to know the background. He has to understand the circumstances, right?
Can I say
All that.
something?
Yeah.
Ricky, you could make it very easy. To make a lie that has good intent is a whole different category than making a lie when somebody tells you, is this guy a bad guy or should I not lend him the money? Now you have a problem. This is a difficult place to be.
Okay, good. Good. My
With
intent is
with
good with a
intent,
constructive
With good
purpose.
intent,
But
that
it
lie
has
is a
to be
kosher lie.
good. And it has to be a constructive purpose. Constructive
course.
purpose. Okay,
The other
now
is more
let's go
difficult.
on. Good. Let's keep going. The other couple of examples to Rochelle's point. Somebody is going through a difficult time. He lost faith in himself. Do you tell him you're right? You'll never get this done. We've all done the
Never.
opposite 100 times. We tell him, of course you're going to get it done. Of course you have the capacity to do it. Are we lying somewhat? Of course we are. How often do we do it? God willing, more than we're doing it now. More than we're
But
doing it.
that doesn't always seem like a lie though, because I feel like you don't really know the capacity. Like it's an open-ended, like you can't really predict
Uh-huh.
what they're capable of
It's
doing. So
constructive.
you feel better about saying it because it's not an outright lie, because you're not like God. You can't really say what they're capable of doing or not. Even
Right,
if
how
it's
dare,
constructive.
good, so how dare you say it to begin with? Maybe you can't say it all together, right?
Person knows that you're kind of lying anyway.
Right. It's not like it's not like a solid lie. Like who's to say that you're right or wrong? You know?
Right, so I'm sure people have believed in everybody on this call at one point or another, when and I raised my hand first, believed in myself less than somebody else believed in me, right? Certain cases, certain times in my life, for whatever period of time, whatever situation it was, I believed in myself less in situation X than that other person believed in me. But his belief in me got me home, got me there, got me back to me.
Right.
That's what we're talking about here. Was his belief in me absolutely based in fact? Of course it wasn't. It was a lie. He just was giving me the
Constructive lie.
courage. It was
It's a
giving me the
construct-
courage. It's a
Excellent.
constructive lie. Good. Now, let's move to the next thing. Busha. We said that a person does not have to embarrass himself and can lie to not embarrass himself. Now, I'm going to give you another side to this that's also interesting. Let's say someone wants to be tsanua, wants to be modest about his or her accomplishments. He can lie and say, you know what? I didn't study that tractate. I didn't complete that area of learning. I didn't achieve that thing in my life. What are you talking about? You did. And why would you lie? Because I'm not comfortable saying it. Oh,
That's
so-
most unusual.
huh?
It's most unusual.
Could
Because you
be.
get good points, good stars for that one.
It could be.
Hashem gives you double for that one.
It
You
could
didn't
be.
take the credit.
But know that I don't have to embarrass myself on the negative side, and I don't have to embarrass myself on the positive side. Even if I did something very good, I'm not obligated to fess up. I'm not obligated to fess up. I don't have to. Good. Okay, let's do a few more.
Rare.
Let's do a few more. God forbid someone is not feeling well, and the prognosis then it was very bad. We're not obligated to tell the person. We're not
Of
obligated.
course not. You also have to tell him that he's going to get better and he's going to
That's
feel
right.
good. And
What do you mean? Don't the
Those are lies
doctors
sometimes.
tell you everything? All, God forbid, the worst possible things? Yes. Isn't that the truth? I don't know if it's the truth or not. There's a God in heaven, and he makes the decisions. And if your words will weaken the person emotionally or otherwise, then don't tell them. In fact, there are rabbis who say that if someone lost a relative, la'alenu, and doesn't know, you just can't run over and tell them. You can't do something like that. You don't have no right to do that. Some rabbis say that unless they ask or unless they get wind of it somehow, they shouldn't be told. So what do you mean? Aren't you lying by not telling them? Yeah. Okay, but
you're not
should
hurting
they
their
tell them?
feelings.
Do they have to be told now? Those are the things. So God forbid someone is doing something, is going through a difficult time. They don't have to hear all the negative possibilities that may end up being their situation. We don't have to tell them that. And in fact, it's better not to tell them that. What about if, what's that?
No, I just have a question about like when you're raising children. I know obviously you can't tolerate the children lying, but as far as like the parenting tactics, like I don't know if it's okay to lie, to continue to lie to your children. I feel to like protect them. I feel like that's just gonna be too like sheltering when they go out into the real world. Like, do you think that it's okay to lie to your kids?
Look, I want my child to believe he's not Superman, but short of Superman, his reality can be much bigger than his dream. And
Encouragement.
that's the Torah model.
Right.
And,
Right, okay.
and the most important thing I give my child is absolutely unconditional self-love and self-confidence. There's nothing more important than I give my child.
Right.
If that means exaggerating something from time to time, it's my obligation as a parent to do so. Because the biggest failure in a parent, God forbid, is a parent qualifying his love in the sense of his belief in his child. I believe in you 1,000,000%. And that's what a parent needs to do, even if you don't believe in him 1,000,000%. It's very interesting, over the years, being involved in education and so on, what I found it's really very interesting that most of the self-confidence in a person came from his mom or dad, not even from his spouse. It really goes back way back when. And that sets that person up permanently. Well, what do you mean? The person is 50 years old, married to a person, a delightful person who thinks the world of him and loves him and has the utmost confidence in him. All good and all helpful, of course. But the people who establish that greatest sense of self and self-love and self-confidence in a child are his or her parents. And that's the most important thing we give them. So to your point, Serene, if I'm going to exaggerate, I'm going to exaggerate in that respect. I believe that's what the Torah wants.
I just wanted to say I was friends with a very, very short man. And one day I had the opportunity, we were talking about it. And I said, did you ever feel short? Because your friends were very tall. Did you ever feel very short in front of them? He said, my parents always told me I was tall. I said, come on, you look in the mirror, you could see you're not tall. He goes, I didn't think that way. I couldn't believe him. But he
That's
said,
exactly
my
it.
parents made me feel tall.
That's so fantastic. And it's so fantastic. And this is Torah. The Western perspective is, if you got to tell the short guy he's short, that's not Torah. That's against the Torah. What you just said, Sarah, is absolute Torah on the highest level. And that's what we got to do. And that's right. That's right. He never thought he was short.
Never.
Okay. He knew he was short, but it didn't matter.
I know. It was an
Because
amazing.
his parents gave him the chizuk.
Yeah, it was
Excellent.
amazing.
Let's do one or two other quick things. Can you throw a surprise party?
Oh, I hate those.
Can you lie for simcha?
Yes.
You lie for happiness. Abe, what do you say?
Of course.
Why
would
of
think
course?
yes.
Why of course?
Why not? I mean, because it brings happiness. It's not, that's no lie.
Beautiful, Cynthia. The terminology in halakha is that it's mevi tov. If something is going to bring good, it goes back to the top line, to where we started, about caring for others and building others. If it's going to bring good, if it's going to bring tov into the life of others, then you can certainly lie about it, and we should. Okay, I want to
know when we're going to get to the bad ones, the
Yeah.
difficult ones. These are easy.
I'm going to give you a more difficult one. Let's say someone, someone agreed. This is sort of a segue, a tip-off to next week. Let's say someone gave you a price to do a job, and it was crystal clear to everybody that was the price. And then he comes back to you and says, you know what? I want 25% more. You're allowed to tell him, according to halakha, okay, I'll give it to you, and then not give it to him.
Wow.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
That's-
You're going to get shot
I
for
don't
that,
get
Ricky.
that.
Oh,
What you should
yeah.
have said, Ricky, no. What you should have said, Ricky, is I want to tell you from now that I got a better price from somebody else. That's a healthy lie.
No problem. So I'm going to tell you again.
Better than
The
not. Better than
halakha
what
is
you
very
said.
simple.
Wow.
And we're gonna part with this one because it's another area. We talked about really the ben adam, the chavero, between man and man. This is more on a sort of not business necessarily, but one step further. although it's still between man and man, it's one step further. But if someone agreed to something and then changes the deal and does something dishonest,
No, no, no.
you have an absolute Torah, not only permission to confront him on his terms
Yes,
and not
I
subjugate
get
yourself to your
I get
thing.
confront
right.
him, yes, but you cannot not confront him and then decide not to give him the money.
You can not confront him and then decide not to give him the money.
No way.
Yes,
You're gonna
way.
get shot, Ricky.
No,
No,
but
no,
you
no, no,
already,
no, no.
don't
No,
you
no,
have
no.
a,
That doesn't
don't
make
you have a
sense.
contract with him? That's
You
your
have the
contract.
contract.
No, but he didn't stick by the contract.
Beautiful.
So he's
He
not
didn't
sticking
stick by the
by it.
contract. Huh?
Oh, but I see you're still
No,
saying you're
no,
allowed
you
to
told
sing.
him, I'll pay you the upcharge.
I see you getting beat up, Ricky. You
Huh?
cannot do that.
God forbid.
I want to protect you. You tell
Thank
the
you, I
guy from
appreciate
the
that.
beginning, if you
Thank
change
you.
the price, I can't give it to you. I have a guy that's going to give it to me for less. But if you do what you just said, you're going to be shot.
Let me ask you something. What did Yaakov do? What did Yaakov do in the house
I'm
of
not
Laban?
Yaakov. I don't want to get killed.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
well,
he,
what did
he
do?
agreed, but he agreed. He agreed.
Who
He
agreed?
agreed to work. Yaakov agreed to work an
Very
extra
good.
many
What did
years.
he do in the end when he was leaving? After he had all the experience, he had more experience than Laban, right? As far as shepherding and mating. And what did he do? He
left
used
his
his experience to outwit the outwitter of the generation, right? Well,
He
what do you
left
mean?
his
Shouldn't he have been Tamim? Shouldn't he have said, you know what, Laban, if you give me the spotted and the colored animals, and I treat them in a certain way, I'm going to be able to propagate my herds many times faster than yours. Didn't he have an obligation to tell him that? The answer is no, because he was a core swindler. And I don't have to behave righteously with a swindler. I meet a person on their terms.
Very dangerous territory.
I forget the dangerous for a minute. I'm just telling you
No,
what
you
to
need
do.
a lawyer for this one, boy. I want to
Okay.
tell you, you need a lawyer for this one.
But,
If a
But
man
Ricky-
doesn't finish the job, he has a bad reputation.
Okay. I'm just telling you what the halakha is. Yeah.
There's
Serene?
ramifications for that.
Okay.
I just feel like us as Jews, like I don't mean to, typecast our own people, but we have like a reputation, I feel like, for being finaglers and maneuverers because
You're
we
absolutely
are you're telling us that we're allowed to do this. So now I really feel like it's really part of our DNA.
I'm telling you that we're allowed to meet fire with fire. We're allowed to greet dishonesty with dishonesty. The pasuk in Mishlei is Al Teheh Tzaddik Habeh. You
It's
don't have
easier
to be.
to tell the
One
man no.
second. 1 second. Sorry. 1 second. We are not obligated to be more righteous than the circumstances around us. Now, the point is
That's
that
crazy.
if we become liars, if we become double dealers, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to have a heavy hand against us, God forbid. But if I'm a person of integrity and I have to confront, let's say, I'll give you one more case from the go forward cases. Let's say, no, I don't want to give you that case. I'm going to hold
Get
it.
a different painter, Ricky.
I get a different paint. Okay. But I'm telling you, the point is like this.
I hear you though.
We must be people of integrity. It's absolutely true. And we have to work hard to maintain that. But we're allowed to deal with the world based on its terms, based on its conditions. I don't have to be better than the conditions around me. Now,
Oh, that's-
maybe I choose not to go in that direction because
Right.
that direction is filled with people who do things in ways that I don't want to be doing things. Okay. So from the outset, maybe I shouldn't be there. But
Right.
if I find myself there
Wow.
and I was tricked, do I have to be Mr. Honest and let him be Mr. Crook? The answer is no. Should I lead my life that way? Like we said, someone who is a habitual liar can't take any of these opportunities. And he has to preclude from himself all of these opportunities to engage the world and primarily help other people by not telling the truth. But in any case, if someone tricks somebody, deliberately tricked somebody? Do I have to act as a Hasid? Do I have to act absolutely okay in lieu of his trickery? The answer is no. I fight fire with fire. If I become like that guy, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be very angry. If I decide to stay in that world, even if it's a bad world, then I shouldn't stay. But if I find myself there, do I have to deal on an absolute up and up level if he's a crook? The answer is no.
That's why you said in the beginning of the class, stay away from those liars and those type.
Yeah,
Because if you
yeah.
keep engaging, you're really demoralizing yourself.
It could be. So that's right. It could be that you end up like that.
Ricky, the
Stuff like
first
that.
example wasn't safe. The first example, no, because you could have told them, listen, you came back with a different price. I don't engage you. I'll get somebody else. Rather than holding back the money, letting him do the job, then it gets tricky.
I think the case that they brought is the job is done already. The job is done already, or it's
Oh,
three
that's
quarters
different.
done. I can't get somebody else.
That's
And now he
different.
tells me, you know what? I want 25% more. What do you do? What do you
That's
do?
different.
You could
No.
dismiss him from the job,
That's different.
right? Or, okay, or you could, but the rabbis are saying, the point that they're saying is
5% more,
that
you're
we
saying
live
that.
in a world of sheker, and you don't have to be honest if what's around you is dishonest. Now, again,
I
to
could see
Sarah's
that.
point, to Serene's point, if you turn into that,
Right.
then
That
it's
makes
fair,
sense. That
right?
makes
But, okay, so let's just wrap up.
I like
Let's
that.
just
I like it.
wrap up. So, like most things in life, which are complex, the use of language and truth and otherwise are complex. And I need to be dealing in the complex, because to building people is not simple. Building children, building a spouse, building grandchildren, building friends is not simple. It's very complex. And when you tell somebody, you know what, that dessert was delicious, even though you're choking on it, that's a good thing. If you tell your spouse she looks beautiful when she doesn't, you're supposed to. You're obligated to. Of course, I never did it and stuff like that.
Let's start now.
Jamie
Never
is
did.
beautiful. Jamie is beautiful.
Never ever did it. Never ever did it. But if
Well, you
anybody
better
else
start now, Ricky.
do it. So that's where we are. Headline is building people. And the point is to be as honest as we possibly can, and to be rigorous in that honesty, but to work very hard to build people. And if that means that sometimes we got to stretch it and think about it more and live in a more complex place between us and ourselves, that's okay. Because in the end, you're going to look back and you're going to say, you know what, that may have been a little bit tricky and a little bit hard, and I may have stretched things a bit, but look at this beautiful person standing opposite me, who I built.
Right, exactly.
With the love and the courage and the,
Right.
Ricky, next week, could you talk about the other complex issues?
absolutely. That's
You
what we're
know,
gonna do.
I'm saying, in other words, when you confront people that steal from you and take from
Right.
you, and you
Yeah.
know, those come in more often than
Okay.
being honest with.
Okay,
you know-
well, that's why I gave you the little tip off with the last one then. So we'll do that next week, God willing.
Okay.
Great.
Fantastic.
Fun.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Great to
Thanks,
see everybody.
everybody.
Thank you,
Great fun.
Ricky.
Have a great
That's
week,
it.
Get a
everybody.
picture,
Thanks, Ricky.
Ricky.
Oh,
Thank
guys, wait. Tonight, there's a movie on, it's called The Friend of Anne Frank, My Best Friend Anne Frank.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix if you want to catch
Oh,
it.
nice.
It's
Thank
starting
you.
tonight.
And PBS has a program on the Iranian Jews, what they went to get to come here or something like that. Anyway, it very much relates to how our people came.
Thank you.
Good
night,
Excellent,
everyone.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Good
you.
thing.
Good night.